How's it going, everybody? My name is Joe Tavares, and this is Robot Talk, where I have 45-minute conversations with thought leaders in the robotics industry about how they got started, what they are currently seeing in the industry, and what they envision the future of robots holding. Whether you yourself are in the industry, are hoping to get into robotics, or are just interested in robots, I hope that this serves as inspiration, guidance, or at the very least, entertainment. In today's episode, I sit down and have a conversation with Matthias Hofmann, the founder of Showbotixx, a robotics distribution company out of Germany. I had the pleasure of meeting Matthias a couple times, both at the annual BCG Innovation Summit in Berlin, and then in New York City at the Toy Fair within Javits Center. I hope that you enjoy this video, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who also enjoys robots as much as you. Without further ado, this is Robot Talk.
So my name is Matthias Hofmann. I'm a founder of Showbotixx together with my colleague Rainer Becker, and we are robot professionals and enthusiasts and visionaries. And we love to bring different types of robots into the real life to improve the quality of life for the humans. We love to build up human-robot teams. We are located in Germany in a smaller city called Remscheid, which is close to Düsseldorf and Cologne.
Thank you so much for taking the time to get on this call. Just to give you a brief overview of what I'm trying to do here. Robot Talk is a series of conversations with professionals in the robotics industry. I'm trying to talk to academics, engineers, thought leaders, and designers who have contributed to the growth of the industry in some type of way. And together, I'm looking to discuss how you got into the industry, what you've noticed in your pursuit to spread the technology, and really where you see the industry and robotics going in the future. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. And let me introduce you. This is Amy.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
This is our winter robot, and this is Jamie, of course. And this is Pepper.
Of course.
And this is Sunbird.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah, so we all have them here. And that's Acre, which is one of our newest beauties. It's a moving train.
Of course.
Yeah.
Very nice. Wow, that's so exciting to see the additions to the group.
Yeah, and this is also a very new vacuum cleaner for professional purposes from SoftBank. It's an American company, and we are the first company who are actively helping distributing the robots, and so.
Very nice, very nice. It's exciting. This is your showroom in Düsseldorf?
No, this is a smaller city close to Düsseldorf. It's like a half an hour drive. It's a smaller city, but the rents are cheaper here. So
Understood. Before we get into now and the future, I would love to hear about how you got started in the industry and really just got started with robotics as a whole. So were you always interested in robotics growing up?
Oh, not in particular. So when I grew up, it was in the 90s. There were the first computers coming up, like the Amigas and Commodores, and I had an Amiga 500, and it was very nice. You had these floppy disks with 1.4 megabytes capacity. Wow. And yes, I was mainly a gamer, and it was even true for the upcoming PCs after that. So I had a lot of them, one after another. But after school, I really started with more serious things like web programming and programming in general. And so I've been doing a lot of different things in the computer industry and programming. So I've been working in a lot of different fields. And during my study, I was first studying computer science with economy. There were like 2 lectures about artificial intelligence in general, and also about evolutionary algorithms, and I really got caught about that, and I was really excited. So I decided to study this field in more depth in my master's studies. And so I studied computer science with machine learning, and at my university, we had a team, a RoboCup team, which is about playing soccer with robots. So if you know the Robot Now from SoftBank, I've been part of the team for 11 years of my university, because it's an excellent opportunity to do basic research with a low price robot, I would say. And that was really the time I started with robotics in 2008, around about that. And I know how to program the robots, in very different ways. So from all these scientific topics, but also how object recognition works, how robots are communicating and cooperating with each other to satisfy a target. And it was very interesting how the motion is working of the robots, and many more topics.
Wow. I mean, and this is just because I know you also, but just hearing you talk about this, you can definitely hear the passion that you have for robotics. But was there like a moment that you realized that how passionate you were about the industry and about robotics and that technology, or was it just over time you slowly began to learn more about the computer vision, about the sensors, and then over time it coalesced to form this passion? Or was there a particular moment?
You realize that when you start working at the university with the robots, and it's like 10 or 11 p.m. and you're still in the lab and programming and doing stuff, and also you realize that when you are so crazy about robotics, that you participate every year in the world competition. And it's because it's a big challenge, and you know, this excellent community, this excellent RoboCup community. So I know a lot of people there, and it's very exciting. So these are the times you realize that you cannot stop working in this area. It's a big passion.
No, I completely agree. When the passion itself pulls you to do work, and you find yourself on Friday nights and Saturday nights working through the night, and you can't realize it. Absolutely. Hi, Pepper. Very cool. Very cool. Wow. So 2008 up until now, I feel like a lot of advancements have been made in robotics, not just in the technology and the underlying algorithms, but in people's perceptions to what a robot is and how a robot can help them. For sure, robots have made it into the home during that period of time in the form of some personal assistants like Jibo, and of course vacuums like the Roomba. And what do you think has been? This is Amy.
This is Amy. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think has been the greatest perception change that's occurred from 2008 up to 2019, before the pandemic that occurred?
I mean, robotics is for a lot of people very interesting. So everyone loves robots, basically, literally everyone loves robots. And but I think in 2008 there was the robots were not that present in the media and everything. So at least service robotics. So this was the time. In industry, that's a different story. But when we talk about service robotics, the really first models entered the market, at least in Europe and probably also in the US, maybe in like 2014 with Pepper. So this was the big change. So Pepper was the eye catcher, the new robot, when the people really get to know about robotics in general. And so I think that's the thing. So people were working with the robots for many years before, but sometimes you need a symbol to attract people about that. So I think that's the biggest difference.
Absolutely. Interesting. So also during that time, because I think I first met you was it in Berlin?
Yes,
Yeah.
last year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so first met you in Berlin, where we were both individually showcasing our robots at the Pop Tech event with BCG, which was a lot of fun, very special event. Um, so presumably you traveled a lot showing robots in different places of the world. For me, I found that in traveling around and showcasing robots in different countries, even in different states within the US, I really got a more whole and holistic view of what that perception of robots is, and being able to contrast it to the differing perspectives depending on country and state. It helped me really understand not only how the market feels about the robot, but really how we as innovators and designers can bring the product closer to that market, by making changes to the product and to the user experience. Can you touch on any of those significant differences in perspectives that you saw as you were traveling with your robots?
So I think more than 90% of the people are really love robots, and there's a short amount of people I call suppressors, because robotics will sneak into the daily life more and more, and I think you cannot stop that. So I think it's a time to really explain robotics and really explain everything. That's for me a key issue, because usability and user acceptance is very, very important. And so mostly people see robots and they don't know what to do with them. And this is something you really have to explain, and over time, and especially the younger generation. So this is the reason why we operate a showroom directly in the pedestrian zone, because the idea is that everyone, literally everyone, can just sneak in, try out the robot, and so they understand what it really means. What is the robot? What can it do for you? And so and in the end, it's really important to to basically eliminate the fear people might have and the bad feelings about robotics. So this is, I think, part of our mission, and it's very, very important, because otherwise you will not bring robots into the market.
No, completely. You know, as human beings, we create new experiences, or we create new ideas based on previous experiences. And if all of our previous experiences are these horror stories and scary stories that that were shown on movies, comic books, sci-fi novels, and of course we're going to look at these technologies in the present and then create in the future these negative technologies. So I completely agree. It's really our duty as innovators within the robotics industry to be able to craft and create a positive future where these robots are helping human beings, alongside human beings, you know.
But it's
In order,
also, I think, different mentalities. So especially in Asian countries, I think they are more innovative than the Western countries, and they don't have fears and anything. So robots are just there, and they are happy about robots. And in Europe, yes, a lot of people are happy about robots, but there are still discussions about, okay, they will kill my job, and okay, what is with my data privacy? This is, I think, one of the major problems. And so it's very important to explain how robots and humans can be a team. This is very, very crucial. So like the screwdriver for a hand worker, for a crafter, so robotics will be for literally everyone.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's interesting that you bring up how robotics differs in Asia versus in Europe versus in America, because really it's so different. I remember going to Tokyo and bringing the Temi robot to Tokyo and seeing all the robots that were there really opened my eyes, and because there was no first layer of fear or concern, or in a lot of cases there wasn't even that initial curiosity that you see at a lot of the conferences, especially at the toy fair where we just were in Manhattan back in February. in America, there's always that initial uneasiness that you see, but in Tokyo, it was, oh, there's another robot. You know, even in Berlin, I was surprised at how many robots I stumbled upon. I forget what the mall was, but we went to this mall and there was this robot that you put in. I think it was pretty expensive. It was like 20 euros, and we put them in, and then the robot would craft a cardboard robot. Um, it was really cool. Um, wow. So in terms of understanding that the way people's perspectives differs around the world with robotics, and trying to figure out how we can use that knowledge to create these better technologies that assist everyone in the future. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges and limitations that currently are present with robotics from the technology side?
Oh, from the technology side.
Hmm.
Yes, I think we have to take care that robotic system can be used as easy as possible. So I think the big future will be voice control or gesture control, because so people don't want to operate a robot with three hidden settings and complex processes. So people just want robots to bring at home or into a company, and then they just should work. Like you put the robot on, and then everything else is part of the duty of the robot. And so people don't care about any technical details. So robotics is very complex, but robotics or robots have to be operated as easy as possible, so that a kid and elderly people and everyone who is not really into technical things can do it. And this is something we observe, for instance, with our waiter robots, because people who work in a restaurant, they have a lot of stress, and maybe they are not, or some people are not technically educated, and they just switch on the robot, wait until everything is initialized, and from then they can just use the robot by pressing one button. And this is a thing we have to do. So we have to make it as easy as possible for the users.
The robot needs to be able to work out of the box. And I think
Yes.
a huge part of that is that the robot needs to be able to, as quickly as possible, understand its surrounding environment.
Yes.
Which, as IoT technologies improve over time, and as sensor technologies improve over time, which I think that's a major limitation with robotics. But as sensors and IoT improve, then if you have in a room every single piece of furniture and object talking to one another, then
Yeah.
the robot will immediately know where it is in relation to everything and be able to adapt its performance to lead to the maximum utility for that space, while also
Yeah.
maintaining safety. You know?
Definitely. So there is still an initial configuration of the environment needed. And
Hmm.
yes, sensors are getting better from year to year. But I think the main problem is that a robot still have to be set up in a controlled environment, so to say. So the robot
Yeah.
is not able to learn highly dynamically its purpose and its way how to use the robot. And therefore, so this is interesting, because this was one of our research topics at the university. So for the soccer robots, it has always been a problem to come like into a different fair, and there's a different floor, and there's different lighting conditions and different things that you had to tune. So we designed our software more and more that it is like self-adapting to the
Hmm.
environment and not the other way around. But for our service robotics, it's still a way to go. But I think it will be possible in the midterm or long-term future.
Absolutely. And I think it's also going to be very interesting to see um, how other industries move in accordance with these technologies. I was talking to someone recently who's an interior designer, and we were talking about interior design. I told her that interior design and tech and robotics go hand in hand, because the first, I don't know about you, but when I walk into a room, the first thing I'm doing is looking at the floor. What material is the floor? What texture is it? Is it rigid?
Yeah.
Is it bumpy? Is it shiny? Is it reflective? Because all of that will play a huge part in how the robot navigates, right? Is it carpet? So
Yes, definitely.
people need to be designing interiors and even exteriors to take into account the best robotic functionality. Um, but it's this is not Amy. Is this Amy or no? It is, yeah. Uh, I don't know how things are going over in Germany right now, but I haven't been out too much, but I have stepped into a couple stores just to see what things are like, and it's incredible to see how quickly environments are changing. How you walk into a 7-Eleven over here or a convenience store, and there's the plexiglass walls, and
Yeah.
it has so quickly adapted for this pandemic world, and it's really interesting not only to see how the environments are changing, but to see how different technologies are being adopted to keep things socially distant and to keep things hands free. How has this pandemic changed the adoption of robotics in Germany and Europe as a whole, from your perspective?
So I believe the general interest into robotics was very high even before the pandemic. But now people are more and more thinking of how robots can contribute to a company or even um, your home. And I think this is the major change that we have learned from the pandemic, that robots can be used for flexibly for so many things. And for instance, some of our customers consider to use like a food delivery robot to increase hygienic standards. And I think this would have never been possible without the pandemic. Although, yeah, I think it's a time for general renewal, and robots will have a big part in that renewal.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's an incredible situation and opportunity for these robots to really do good in the world. And it's amazing getting to see the different ways that they're helping out. You know, seeing that collection of robots that just went over to, I believe it was Rwanda, to assist in hospitals. I know you guys have been up to some amazing things, and but looking ahead, what do you see as being the short-term future in the robotics industry, in the service and consumer-facing robotics industry?
Oh, I think there will be a lot of human robot teams. So people will do the more complex things, and robots will do yeah, uh, repetitive, easier, repetitive things. So like food delivery or like a receptionist work, answering to questions, entertainment, stuff like that. So the human, I think, will never be replaced, not in the short future, but also not in the longer term future. But I think this is what we can expect over the course of the next 5 years, maybe, that there will be more and more human robot teams. And for the longer perspective, I think the integration of robotics and IoE systems will continue, of course, and it will be very natural as your coffee in the morning or a TV. So listen, the kids are growing up with a smartphone, and when we consider what has we changed during the last 25 years up to now, it's impressive. And I think we will observe a similar transition, but with robots.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think as people, for sure with the consumer-facing robots, as people really begin to adapt this way of thinking for developing applications that use this new dimension of movement, then it's really going to take off. in a whole new way,
So at the
right?
moment, robots still have a presence. So people see a robot, oh, it's a robot, and it's
Yeah,
fantastic because it's new. But I think in the mid or long term future, they will just use it. They will. It's a natural part of their life. And I think robots will improve the quality of life for the humans.
absolutely.
So they don't think about robots. They just accept it. They will use it, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think a major part of that is making the experience of it seamless. I can't ever feel like, okay, I need to figure out how to use this, or I don't know about you, but I've definitely with I think it was roughly like kids age 4 to 9, they immediately know how to use the Temi robot. They walk up to it and they immediately
Yeah.
tap the top of the screen. It's incredible how
Yes.
quick they pick it up. And that's something that, as you're saying, is only gonna continue to become more and more normal and normalized and ubiquitous. What
Definitely.
about so so that's 5 to 10 years, or you said 5 years, 10 years? What about in, I mean, people always love speculating, like 50 years into the future.
Wow.
Yeah, so much has happened in the last 10 years that 50 years is definitely a long time. But what do you see the long-term future of being like for robots, the robotics industry?
The systems will be more intelligent, of course. They will be more sophisticated. They will be seamlessly integrated, of course. So all these things we just mentioned before. But I'm not sure whether it's possible to predict the future in 50 years, because if you imagine how people from the 60s or 50s thought how the world will look like in 50 years, like, so it's probably totally off. So
Mhm.
remember there was like a very prominent saying about, okay, I see a market for 20 computers in the world for every time. So for that's, I think that's is one of the most wrong predictions about the future that has ever been said. So, and therefore I think we don't have to speculate how the world will look like in 50 years. I think another key issue here is how robotics can contribute to sustainability and to environment technologies. So I think this will be a major part of robotics besides servicing and helping people in their daily life.
Absolutely. Robotics helping out with sustainability, robotics helping out with space exploration on an industrial and commercial level completely. It's very exciting to look to the future, and this goes back to what we were talking before about passion and duty. Like we really have a duty to create that positive future, because I feel like when it comes to robotics and its intersection with artificial intelligence, a lot of it is going to come down to like how that looks in the world. A lot of that is going to come down to the underlying ethics that it's produced with, and whoever builds that and whatever team is part of building that. And of course it's a collective, like um, it's a collective movement towards progress. You know, we're all in this together of building this positive robotics future, and and it's good, it's exciting. This is Sandbot.
This is Sandbot.
Beautiful. Now this long-term future, in a lot of ways it will be shaped by people like you and I, but it will be in the soon to be present created by the younger generations and the generations to come. So for those people watching who are in middle school and high school and perhaps even in university right now, and they're interested in exploring the world of robotics, what advice do you have to share to them?
So I think the most important part for me is we have to teach them to become enabler. So this is very being positive about everything and don't worry about all these problems too much. So you have to continuously live your dream and your passion. And this is what I would advise younger people. Just do it. There are no excuses. If you have the passion for robots or for technology in general, become an enabler.
I love that. I love that. My manager said recently, he said, don't let analysis turn into paralysis. And I like that a lot. It's like, don't overthink things so much that it keeps you from executing and from creating and from inventing and from bringing these new ideas from being ideas into reality. Because I think it was Steve Jobs that said that every single thing around you was made by people no smarter than you. And growing up, it's so difficult to see the world through that lens, because we assume that this is how things are, this is the way things have always been. But no, that's not the case. Things are always fluid, as we know, they're always dynamic and they're always changing. And anyone can be that change that brings us more towards a positive future for everyone. Thank you so much, Matthias. This was really great.
Thank you for the great opportunity.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. See you next time on Robot Talk.